Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy Mega Meeple.
Greetings and welcome to the Mega Meeple, the show all about gamers and the games that bring them together. This is episode 72, and yeah, I'm a little late getting this one out here, so what are you gonna do about it? Nothing. But if this is your first time listening, welcome. Glad you're here. Pull up a chair here at the Mega Meeple gaming table. Everybody's welcome here. If you haven't already, go check out the website. That's www.themegameeple.com. All the information that you would ever want to see or hear or read or know about the Mega Meeple is right there. We got the reviews, we got the news, we got the blogs. You could listen back to all the previous episodes. All of the episodes of the podcast stream right there before it hits iTunes. And if you want to follow me on any of the social media craps, like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, all those links are found on the social media page, as well as a contact us page that you could use if you yourself is a game designer, or you have a game, or you have a Kickstarter coming up, and you want to be a guest on the show. You can go to the contact us page, fill out all the forms, hit submit, and I will get a little dingy bell on my phone, and I'll be notified that, hey, there's somebody who wants to be on the show. And I'll see about returning your email. See how that works? Technology, it's such a grand thing. If you haven't already, go over to iTunes and subscribe. And while you're there, put out some of that 5-star leave us a happy review. But if you're not an Apple person, you don't do iTunes, hey, you could still, like I said, listen to the podcast. I think we're on Podbean or Spotify, and of course the streams on the website. I think we're on a whole bunch of other Google Play. I think we're on. I don't know. I at some point I just stopped keeping track of all that stuff because all that stuff is automatically propagated out into the feeds. So I just. As long as I hit publish, it's going to go out there. So, hey, well, let's see what's going on this week. A few things what happened this past week. I put my very first vlog on the Mega Meeple YouTube channel. If you haven't already, just go over there and subscribe. And while you're at it, hit that little belly thing, however the hell YouTube is doing it nowadays. And they keep changing it up every other month. So, I'm sure if you use YouTube, you will know what you need to do. But, hit subscribe button and anything else you need to do to get notified of new content. But I did my very first vlog video. And I think I'm going to do this once a month. Although this first one is a little bit longer than what the other ones, subsequent vlogs are going to be. Just because I'm spending that extra time explaining why I'm doing it. So if you want to find out some of the stuff that is coming down the pipeline, both on the YouTube channel and here on the podcast, just go over to the YouTube channel and check that out. So let's see, some of the Kickstarters that come in yet. They've been just flooding the Mega Meeple Studios here. I haven't gotten a chance to play any of them, but just this past week, Deep Madness came in. That has been on the waiting block for at least a year and a half, almost 2 years. My God. And it's finally got delivered. And just in the time that it got delivered, they're ready to announce the second Kickstarter that's supposed to go live. Last I heard, at the end of this month. So for those of you who missed the Kickstarter from like 2 years ago, now that the backers from then are finally getting their games, it's time to redeem yourself, so to speak, and get in on the action. And for those of us who did back it and maybe didn't go all the way in, now that you've seen the game and the artwork and the production value of it, if you want to go back and complete your collection, this would be the time to do it when that Kickstarter goes live at the end of October. Another game that just arrived just today at the time that I'm recording this is Monster Highway. The designers for this game on the podcast back when the Kickstarter was live, and finally got that game in today, and then got a FedEx notification also today that my Kickstarter of the Kraken expansion for Dead Men Tell No Tales is going to be delivered here the next day or two. That game, I'm really, really excited about that game in particular, because back when I first started into the board gaming thing, when the board game bug bit me, Dead Men Tell No Tales, God, that's hard to say, was my very first board game that I ever got. And so that game, I still have it. And it's been a while since I played it, just because, all these, 3 or so years later, I've gotten other games, played other stuff. My gaming palette has expanded. I've gotten more fine-tuned in what I know that I enjoy and what I like. But that game by Minion Games, Dead Men Tell No Tales, has always, you always remember your first time. You always remember your first game. You never, no matter what, there may be other games, but you'll never forget your first game. And Dead Men Tell No Tales was my very first game, board game that I got. So I am excited that the Kraken expansion is going to be released or delivered here to me, to my grubby little fingers here in the next day or two. So I've gotten Dead Men Tell No Tales out and blew the dust off of it and kind of refamiliarizing myself with the game and the gameplay. So I am excited to get the expansion and some of the updated cards. This one has miniatures coming now to the game. It also corrects a design flaw that the first edition game had with its and for those of you who played the game, you know what I'm talking about. So the expansion has in it a replacement board for that, to correct that little design flaw that it had. So I'm looking forward to that, an opportunity to inject some new life into that old favorite. Well, this week my guest is Carla Kopp. She is talking about Dreams of Tomorrow. This is she's been making the social rounds with the interviews all over the place, and now it's my turn. So let's get to that interview right now, talking to Carla about Dreams of Tomorrow. Here we go on the Mega Meeple interview for this episode, and this time we have I doubt very much if she's a giraffe, although that would be kind of that'll be a first. We interview a giraffe here, but I don't know how weird she is. I guess we'll find out how weird She is here in a little bit. But we have from Weird Giraffe Games, Carla Kopp. How you doing, Carla?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, we're recording on a Friday, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So we haven't the week hasn't made us fall asleep too. We got a little bit more energy left. So let's see if we could keep that energy going. We'll see how tired we are at the end of this. It's like because we do have, after all, have to conserve our energy for the weekend. So you are one of the lead designers at Weird Giraffe Games. So and do wear quite a few other hats there at the company. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into gaming and what was it about gaming that really appealed to you?
So after I graduated college, I moved to a brand new town that was like 8 hours away from where I grew up and where I went to college, and I didn't know that many people, but I did know one person, like vaguely, like they went to the same college as I did, and they were like, hey, do you want to hang out and play games? And I was like, of course I want to like see other people, yes. And so that's kind of how I got introduced to, hobby games. But I really enjoyed playing games. I'm pretty introverted, and I don't like to entertain people that much. Like, I don't want to just sit down with a person and talk for 2 hours.
Right.
But I'm perfectly capable of sitting down and being like, hey, new person, let's learn this game. And while we're like playing the game, we can also talk about who we are and get to know each other that way.
Yeah, it's always easier when you have like a common interest or just a focus point of being able to get together and share something and just let things meet people out from that common interest. So, but now Weird Giraffe Games. That's I dig the name. How did you come up with the game Weird Giraffe?
Okay, so when I was first I had designed a game, I read that you should make a company, and at the time we were 4 people that started the company. We're no longer 4 people, but we were trying to figure out different names for the company, and I thought it'd be really clever to incorporate my name in the company, and so I was thinking about ways to do that, and I really like copies. And I was like, oh, I could do a really clever play on words and put my name, but have it be Okapi Games, but spelled Kopp like my last name. And so I brought this idea to them, and they just had blank faces. They didn't know what I was saying or like what I was getting at. So I went back to the drawing board, and I was like, okay, how do I explain what Okapi Games is? And I decided that I should do that by making a logo. So I went to paint because I was one of those kids that grew up, making the little pixelated things. So I went to paint and I pixeled out a little Okapi, and I put it next to Okapi Games, and I was so excited, and I brought the logo to them, and they were still just all blank faced. It didn't help that I made the logo. They just were like, "Oh, you made this. That's great." So I went back to the drawing board a bit, and I was like, okay, well, I spent at least a half an hour making this logo. What other name could I put with it? Well, if you know about the okapi, it is the only other animal in the Giraffid family. And so if you look at it, it's smaller than a giraffe, it's a lot shorter. It still has the kind of long neck, but it's mainly brown except for the back of it where it has a zebra butt. So it kind of looks like a giraffe, but it looks like a really weird giraffe.
Okay.
So I made that one, and I think by that time they were just like, yeah, Carla, you do what you want. And I was like, yeah, I made this logo, and we're Weird Giraffe Games now.
There we go. Run with it. Yes. All right. So now you have quite a few games in your catalog. You got Stellar Leap,
and the I guess the expansions that Frontiers, Fire in the Library. But we're going to talk about today of a game called Dreams of Tomorrow, which is actually going to be well. At the time this episode is going live, it is currently on Kickstarter. So since you are the expert on this game, I'm basically just gonna take I'm just gonna take a seat at the back of the auditorium here and let you tell us all. But now, first of all, I'm always like to find out, especially how games or anything that people create, how it gets. What spawns the idea, and what, especially with development, because a lot of times the what you wind up with is very rarely what you started out with. So yeah, how did Dreams of Tomorrow come to be, and how did it morph into the game that it is now?
So I actually signed this game, and when I signed this game, it was called Totemic Rights, and it was about building up totem poles. So when I was going, I was really excited about this because I was all like, I'm going to find a Native American illustrator and they're going to benefit from this. And maybe we'll have a deluxe tier where you can get like Native American art and stuff like that. And I love that idea. But then I started researching the whole idea of making a game about totem poles. And it turns out that that's actually super offensive. And, well, I was pretty disappointed by that because I had, like, all these ideas on collaborations and stuff like that. So I just started thinking about other themes, like, what could this game be? Some of the mechanics in the game are that there's a shifting rondelle, which, if you don't know what a rondelle is, it's typically a circle of actions where you go, like, maybe 1 to 3 spaces, and the space that you land on, you take an action. So there's a number of games that have these rondelles in them, but I've never seen one that had a shifting rondelle. So I really wanted to make the shifting rondelle like really make sense with the theme. And one thing that happens when you go to an action space is that other players can gain resources. So I wanted that to make sense because in Totemic Rights, why did other people get wood when you went to the wood market stand? I'm not sure. It was a mechanic in the game to make it more friendly and stuff. So I was thinking about different themes, and were a lot of different themes that it could have been. But then I got onto the topic of dreams. Like, if all the players are in this shared dreamscape thing where, like, kind of think like maybe Inception and stuff like that, where you're like manipulating the dreamscape, but because you're in this shared thing, you're actually affecting the other players because you're all dreaming together. Okay. And I thought that really tied it together.
All right. So now it's a 1 to 6 players game. So it's for all you solo gamers out there. From what I'm seeing is like there's a pleasant night and a terrible night of modes of play. Can you tell us about how those two play and how they differ?
Yes, of course. So the Pleasant Night mode is the basic game where only the players make changes to the action spaces and where they are. But the Terrible Night, this is where you add in the Nightmare, which can upset the rondelle and just move actions out of your reach. It can steal resources. It basically wreaks havoc on your plans. And we actually have a third mode for the game that I am developing now, where instead of just having the Nightmare in for the entire game, the Nightmare will get added whenever any player adds the third dream to their dream sequence. So then you get a little bit of the Nightmare, but not like the Nightmare the entire time. Because some players really, really hate the Nightmare. Like, if you're one of those players that when they're playing the game, you plan your moves ahead, like 5 moves, you can't do that with the Nightmare. The Nightmare, like, every time it goes, I'm like, oh, I was going to do this, but the Nightmare has changed that plan, so now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. And I really like that because if I know everything that's going to happen, why even play that game? But if you do like to plan far in advance, there's always a pleasant night. You don't have to use the nightmare at all. And also, that's like a nightmare. That's 2 words because it's a little horse meeple.
Oh, okay.
I was really happy that I could get that pun in there.
That's pretty neat. So there's actually 3 modes of play that, or there's going to be 3 modes of play. There's 2 that's already established, and then you're working on one right now.
Yeah, so there's 2 official ones, but I imagine that the 3rd one will work out pretty well. So there will most likely be the 3.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you go through what the victory conditions are and how the different mechanics play out in the game?
So, as I said, all the players are on this shifting rondel. It's actually made up of 4 cards, which each have 2 action spaces on them each. So you're going around the rondel, and you're going to want to capture dreams with your dream catcher. Once you capture the dreams, you have to use your experience to do that. You can then try to weave your dream, and to weave your dream, you need hope and creativity. As listed on the card, and you could take any dream from your dream catcher and weave it into your dream sequence. However, all these dreams have different abilities because dreams are really powerful. So you can use any ability that's on a dream in your dream catcher, but you can only use the ability of the last dream in your dream sequence. So you have to make sure that you're really carefully choosing which dreams to weave into your dream sequence because you can lose the abilities. Like if you have a really powerful ability, you might want to leave it into your dream catcher until the last dream you weave. So the game ends whenever any one player gets to 5 dreams in their dream sequence, and at that point, all players will get an equal amount of turns, and then you get to see how many points that you acquired. And you figure out points. They're based on the individual dreams in the dream sequence. There's just a number of points per dream, but there's also resonance. So dreams will resonate with the dreamer more if they have the certain symbols on them. So there's symbols on the top and the bottom of the cards. If you can line up the symbols so that they match, like say your card has a circle on top and then you put another circle right next to there, the 2 cards will resonate. And you'll get a lot more points for causing the points to resonate because there's that set collection mechanic in there.
All right. Now, as we said earlier, it's 1 to 6 players. Now, how does the solo mode play? Is it now a lot of games out there? You know, their solo variant is basically some kind of a tack-on thing where actually the solo play doesn't really reflect what the rest of the game is. So, how does the solo play work on Dreams of Tomorrow?
So the first thing you do in the solo is to choose a robot to fight against because there's 3 different robots. There's the easy, medium, and hard. And I definitely recommend going easy first because, well, the hard one, that one will wreck you. It gets lots of points really fast. So you choose one of the robots and you take your turn as normal, just like the multiplayer, but then the robot takes a turn. And to figure out what it does on its turn, you have to check out what the card says. Each of them has a different card. And it's basically like an if-then statement. Like for the easy one, it can only move up to 2 spaces instead of the full 3. And if it doesn't have the activate a dream or the catch a dream spot within view of where it is, it'll go to another spot and it will probably give you resources. But if it can go to activate, then you flip over one of the cards from the dream deck and you look at the symbols on the top. Based on the symbols, you look at what the card says and the robot player will mess up with the rondel. Or it could steal resources or do any number of things. Like it could actually clear out all the dreams from the marketplace. So you follow the card, see what it does, and then it's back to your turn. So it's a really quick solo where it's just follow the rules. You don't have to think about it. It just happens. but it really does emulate what playing with another player would be because it gives you resources. You're not exactly sure what it'll do all the time. And its scoring is actually based on the number of turns that it takes. So you do have to keep track of that. Like every time you go to move it, you also have to move its turn counter. And the easy one is the easiest, where it's just straight up however many turns it has, that's how many points it gets. So you have to beat it that way. But the medium and the hard add in other conditions where you increase the turn counter. And you can actually just straight up lose if you take too many turns, or if you run through the Dreams deck, or a few other things.
Okay. So I guess it for those of us who have played Scythe using the Atoma, it's kind of that similar style thing where you're drawing the cards, and based on the symbols and so forth that's on the cards is telling you what the AI is doing. So yeah,
yes.
so you're still getting the actual bulk and flavor of the game, even doing solo play.
Yeah, and it's also really easy to learn the game. If it has a solo mode, you can just learn the solo game and be able to play it and know how it plays and how it ends. And then when you go to teach your friends, you're like, oh, okay, I already know how to play this game and I can teach it a lot better.
Right, definitely. Yeah, it's always a challenge, especially when you're trying to learn particularly like a competitive game. It's like, well, trying to make yourself lose against yourself when you're playing that by your. The competitive games really don't lend themselves to solo play, but yeah. So this is a good game. It sounds like all the way around. And, now the age thing on here is eight and up, right?
Yes.
So this is a real fun game, simple game to learn. So you could, it's good for families to be able to play with your kids, and not scare them with Cthulhu or anything like that. Just so. Carla, thank you so much. Now, if people want to find out more about Weird Giraffe games, or find out more about the Dreams of Tomorrow, where could they go?
So I have a website. It's weirdgiraffegames.com. If you specifically want to learn more about Dreams of Tomorrow, you can go to weirdgiraffegames.com/dreams. You can find me on Twitter at Weird Giraffes, and I'm on Facebook too at Weird Giraffe Games. So feel free to reach out, if you have any questions, comments. I love playing games and talking about games, so feel free to reach out on any of those platforms.
Excellent. And of course, we'll have links to those things on the show notes of this episode. Well, Carla, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining me on this Friday night. Now, before we let you go, we like to play a little game with our guests. Or just, I'll just say, cats or dogs, and you just tell me which one you like better. So just a fun little, trivia thing that we like to play. So you up for that?
I am so up for this.
All right, here we go. First one, action or comedy?
Comedy.
All right. Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi, all the way.
All right. Cowboys or aliens?
Aliens.
Right.
I'm more of a sci-fi person.
There we go.
Well, obviously, I did Dreams of Tomorrow, which is kind of sci-fi.
Here we go. Oreos or Chips Ahoy?
I would go with Oreos. I don't know, Chips Ahoy, I don't, for cookies, chocolate chip cookies, I like soft cookies. So Chips Ahoy are just, too hard. But Oreos, they have that creamy center, so
Yeah,
I'd go for Oreos.
There we go. And if you're like me, when I was a kid, I like to, like the filling out first before I eat the cookies part.
Mm-hmm. You have more choice in them.
Yeah.
They're just better.
And lastly, time travel into the future or time travel into the past?
Always the future.
All right, excellent. So thank you so much, Carla, and we look forward to playing Dreams of Tomorrow, as well as some of the other games that you got in your catalog there at Weird Giraffe Games. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Alrighty then. Thank you so much for hitting that download button and listening to this episode. You might want to come back next week as my guest is Trevor Heron. He has a really neat game about cats. And who doesn't like cats? I mean, that's pretty much what the internet was made for, is two things: porn and cats. Well, it's a family-friendly show, so I'm not going to talk about any board games about porn, but we are going to talk about board games about cats. And Trevor has a game that's be coming out in Kickstarter at the end of this month. So we're launching that episode next week to talk about it. It's called Affectionate Cats and Cuddles. But it's a game that's actually you're able to play very easily with your children. And we're talking, 4, 5, 6 years old. So if you like cats, you like kids, if you have both, then you're going to want to come back next week and listen to that. Also, I don't know if this is kind of counterintuitive, but next week I will have my Halloween edition. So, talking about cats. Well, Halloween, black cats. Yeah, that fits. So yeah, next week will be my Halloween edition. That will also go hand in hand with my video that will be uploaded about the same time on the Mega Meeple YouTube channel, where I talk about my top 10 horror-themed board games you can play on Halloween, and I'll even recommend a scary movie to watch that you could pair with each game. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you want to support what I do here, just go to our Patreon or Pod Pledge page. The links to those are found also on the social media page on the website, www.themegameeple.com. Just, hey, just $1 a month or whatever really helps out with the hosting costs and such. But if you don't have the funds or the resources to do that, hey, just word of mouth. Tell all your friends about the show. Tell everybody about the YouTube channel. That goes a long way as well. Again, thank you so much for listening, and hope to see you and hear you again at this time next week. I'm sure I'll get the episode out there a little bit more on time next time. So until then, this is Tom saying, we'll see you at the gaming table.